welcome everyone to this Data.Europa Academy webinar on trends on geospatial data. My name is Giulia Carsaniga. I'm a research and communication consultant for data.europa.eu. And today I will be the technical facilitator of this session, while letting Ante and Simon, who will introduce themselves later, be the content providers. Just as a reminder, this is an annual webinar which aims at investigating current trends in the geospatial community and discuss together with you opportunities for data.europa.eu as the official portal for European open data. Before starting with the content and our agenda, I would like to remind you of some rules of the games. So first of all, this is a recorded webinar. The recording of the webinar as well as the slides will be made available to you on Data.Europa Academy following this session. And we will also remind you via email. Second of all, please, if you can, throughout the session, turn off your camera and your microphone so that our speakers can smoothly present. At the end of the webinar, we will ask you to kindly reserve 3 minutes of your time to provide us with feedback, which is really useful for improving the webinars. And finally, of course, if you have questions or if you have comments, feel free to use Slido. For today, we have prepared Slido for you. You can, as you can see, already connect either by going to the webpage of Slido and insert geospatial 2022 or by scanning this QR code. You can also vote on the questions that are of most interest for you, and this question will be then addressed later on in the Q&A. So yeah, I would say we can get already started, and I give now the floor to Ante and Simon.
Thank you, Julia. My name is Antje Kügeler. I work for Conterra, a company based in Münster, Germany. And at Conterra, we focus on integrating geoinformation into our customers' workflows and IT structures. We have a joint team with 52 North working on data.europa.eu. And together we're responsible for the geospatial dimension of the portal. And Conterra is in charge of the GeoHarvester, a component which is used to harvest metadata from geoportals into data.europa.eu, and a gazetteer, so that's a backend service to find a location. And 52 North is responsible for the geovisualization, like a map viewer, putting the geodata on the map, and handling real-time data, which often also has a spatial dimension. And Simon, maybe you will introduce yourself.
Okay, thank you very much, Antje. So my name is Simon Jecker. I'm one of the managing directors of 52 North. We are a company based as well in Münster here in Germany. And yeah, our work is mainly in the field of geoinformation technologies. And the specific aim that we are following is to transfer results coming from research into practical applications and help improving, for example, spatial data infrastructure concepts. Okay,
great. Thanks. So let's have a look at the agenda. We start with a welcome introduction and the goal of the webinar, which we're in the middle of right now. And then we have an interactive part. The interactive parts are marked in red letters. So we'll have a warm-up, just a brainstorming on current trends regarding geospatial data using Slido. Then we'll talk about the first topic, modernizing Inspire, moving towards open data. Then we'll have the opportunity to answer some questions or look at some comments that you might have entered into Slido. And then we have the second topic, the role of geospatial information for smart cities. And after that, we'll have a discussion of opportunities for data.europa.eu. Again, brainstorming session using Slido. And of course, you can also vote within Slido, making the opportunities that you find most interesting, ranking them to the top. And then we'll close with just explaining the next steps for writing the report. And we'll ask you to input, give your input for the survey, feedback survey. So the goal of this webinar is to give an overview of some current trends in the geospatial community, and then discuss what opportunities for data.europa.eu might arise from these trends. And how can data.europa.eu benefit from and support new ways of sharing geodata? So to just give a very quick introduction to data.europa.eu, this portal provides access to open data. And it's a single point of access to open data in Europe. This is done using metadata. Metadata is basically describing data. It's data about data. But data.europa.eu as a portal, as a project, is going beyond just collecting metadata. The strategic objective is to improve accessibility of open data in general and increase the value of open data. So data.europa.eu currently includes 174 catalogs. These, you can see the numbers when you go to the start page of data.europa.eu. And these 174 catalogs can be viewed as individual data sources. And these are both open data portals and geoportals from 36 countries. And depending on how the countries are organized, we often have one or two or more catalogs that are being harvested. It's often a national open data portal and a national geoportal that's being harvested. And we also harvest or host international catalogs from EU institutions or international organizations. And currently we have more than 1.5 million data sets accessible via data.europa.eu. That should be enough for this first introduction to data.europa.eu. And let's just have a quick definition of what we mean by trend. A trend is a general development or change in the situation or in the way that people are behaving. And this is quoted from the Cambridge Dictionary, a very broad and simple definition, how you would use the word trend in everyday usage. So a trend is a pattern of gradual change in a process or a general tendency. And our goal is to spot opportunities that are relevant to data delivery and data discovery. So having said that, let's start the interactive part. I would ask you to go to Slido. You can either go there by using the QR code or going to Slido and entering geospatial 2022. And the idea is to just enter what current trends regarding geospatial topics come to mind. Okay, some participants are typing, that's great. So let's have about 5 minutes for this. People need to go on. A lot of 3D. A lot of AI. High value data sets. We'll be talking about that. Open data, of course.
Real time.
Oh, real time, yeah, that's your favorite topic. digital twins.
Huh?
Smart cities, that's good. We'll be talking about that in a minute. The new Inspire directive, we'll also be talking about that. Internet of Things.
Big data.
Big data, yeah.
And we also see the API-based access to data coming.
Oh, yeah. Mm. Data spaces.
Oh.
OGC API. Spatial is not special. I'm laughing because that's been the slogan for a long, long time. Spatial is so special. And I think it still is special, but it should be usable for mainstream anyway. Satellite data, rapid decision-making, blockchain, accessibility. Okay, I can see there's still some people typing, but this will be open for a bit. But I think we get a pretty good idea, and this was a fun way to learn about the other what the other participants are thinking. And the goal was also for you to get to know the tool Slido. But of course, this is also a very valuable input for our next year's webinar and report, because we'll be having a look at these trends that you've been sharing with us. So thank you very much. I must say, this word cloud, I really like the way open data is in the middle. I really, it's like someone actually designed it. So thanks a lot for your valuable input. We choose two trends to be discussed today as they seem relevant to data delivery and discovery. And the good thing is you did mention these in the warm-up. The first one is modernizing Inspire, moving towards open data. So this is about legislation. Both Inspire and the Open Data Directive are European directives. And these two directives are related, and in our opinion, they're moving closer together. So we'll be talking a bit about the Inspire evaluation, Inspire good practices, and OGC APIs, and then things like geospatial data and high-value data sets under the Open Data Directive. And the second topic we want to talk about is the role of geospatial information for smart cities. The development of smart city environments is gaining more and more impact due to several developments. Once from the legal perspective, many types of data falling under the high-value data sets are closely related to smart cities, such as mobility data, real-time environmental data, and any kind of dynamic spatial data. And at the same time, Technological developments such as the Internet of Things facilitate the collection of all kinds of smart city data. For example, data on traffic, environmental conditions, or utility networks. So let's move on to that first topic, modernizing Inspire, moving towards open data. And to level the playing field for those of you who are not that familiar with Inspire, we want to show a very short video. And for all you Inspire experts in the room, we'd ask you to sit back and use this video as a reminder of why Inspire is such a great idea.
All European countries make and use geospatial data, such as groundwater, transport networks, population, land use, and air temperatures. And each country has its own specific way to describe this data. But our environment doesn't stop at the borders we make. Our rivers flow through multiple countries. We share mountains, lakes, roads, and the air we breathe. This becomes even clearer in times of crisis, when the right choices need to be made quickly. Take Iceland, for example, where a volcano erupted in 2010. Several countries needed data on air pollution and air quality. This data had to be comparable across borders for decision makers in the health and transport domains. Or look at this region. Extreme weather flooded an industrial chemical plant, contaminating the river. Downstream in the neighboring country, people use the water for recreation and agriculture. Governments and local authorities need to have data and timely information to help predict the impact on their community. But data is not always readily available, or the data is created using different standards. Therefore, hundreds of experts from across Europe have worked together to define common standards to describe and to share the spatial data. The result was a European legislation called Inspire, with the goal to create an infrastructure for sharing spatial information between public authorities in Europe. Inspire defines common standards for 34 spatial data themes, including administrative units, transport networks, protected sites, elevation, population distribution, energy resources, utility and government services, and natural risk zones, to name a few. In some cases, information is collected for the first time. When this happens, the Inspire standards help to do this in an efficient way. Inspire allows spatial data from different countries to be found, shared, and used more easily. Information is available through an online portal. Users can be confident that the data they get can be readily combined and integrated, and public authorities will be able to take more informed decisions and at the right time.
So this video shows that Inspire is an opportunity to make the world a little bit better. It emphasizes how important geospatial information can be in crisis, and how geospatial information can play an important role in informed decision-making. Environmental issues don't stop at borders, so a European approach is necessary. And the goal is to provide cross-border comparable data in uniform data models. So let's talk a bit more about Inspire. The Inspire directive came into force in 2007, and that's 15 years ago, so much has changed since then. Our environment and the technology is constantly changing. And to illustrate this, you might take a moment to think about the mobile phone that you owned in 2007 and what you used it for. You probably used yours only to make phone calls and write text messages, maybe take an occasional photo, because that's all the phones could really do. But this has changed. Smartphones have amazing computing capacity. They have GPS, lots of mobile apps that use our location. So we use our location in decision-making just every day without even thinking about it. And we now use browsers and the internet for most geospatial interactions. And of course, there have been other technological advances, like cloud computing, software as a service, big data, artificial intelligence, and changes like the global movement for open data, which changed the way that we think about data and our expectations when we want to use data. So since 2007, there's actually been a lot of change. The world is different now. Inspire came into force in 2007 and had a roadmap for implementation that extended until 2021, last year. And to provide guidance on how it should be implemented, technical guidance documents were developed describing technical details that were most important for the technical implementation. And one thing we'd like to point out is the Inspire Good Practice documents. That's a lightweight approach to share opportunities offered by emerging technologies and standards. So this was a little bit of modernizing even during the implementation phase. And the screenshot on the right shows the current good practice library. And I'd like to highlight 3 things in the screenshot. First one is geoDecad which is already supported by data.europa.eu. And then OGC API features and OGC Sensor Things API as a download service. And the latter 2 were identified as interesting trends in last year's geospatial trends exercise because they promote the use of OGC standards in the Inspire community. So let's talk about modernizing Inspire. And one important building block for this was an evaluation that was carried out this year. So an evaluation of the Inspire directive. And we would like to share some quotes from the summary of the evaluation. And I know that's a lot of text, but we'd like to quote it anyway to make sure to keep in line with the phrasing. So the first quote is on the success of Inspire. Inspire has improved efficiency by creating a framework for distributing spatial data according to FAIR principles. The second quote is on the continuing relevance of Inspire. The Inspire directive is still very relevant for addressing data sharing obstacles from the past and data needs for the future. So the third point is a critical note. The Inspire directive's technical overspecification renders the legal framework less fit for the future in the light of technological evolution. The fourth is about the simplification potential. The evaluation demonstrated simplification potential of the implementation in terms of addressing the too detailed interoperability requirements. And last but not least, there's one on the relationship with other EU legislation. The Inspire directive has been designed to be consistent with the EU legal framework on data sharing and dissemination, and can support implementation of public access to environmental information directive and the open data directive. And the open data directive, of course, is close to our heart when it comes to data.europa.eu. So we'll talk a bit about that in a minute. Some topics that are likely to shape the future of Inspire. We'll start with a catchphrase that we've been hearing quite a bit in conferences and other events, and that's "let's leave the geospatial bubble." By this we mean the bubble of geospatial experts providing geoinformation for other experts of the domain, making geospatial data more native to the web and learn from mainstream technology and design patterns. And this is also the idea behind the the new OGC API family. Collaboration is very important also when defining new standards. Inspire has always been a collaborative effort, usually a group of experts. But now the Open Geospatial Consortium, the OGC, and also the new Inspire Good Practices are developing their information on GitHub, making it easier to comment and the process more inclusive. So one thing we always come across is application programming and interfaces, APIs, which also feature heavily in the Open Data Directive and especially the high value data sets. To make, to focus on developer friendliness, easy to understand API documentations and APIs that let you explore. So let's move on to the Open Data Directive and high value data sets. The European Directive on Open Data and the Reuse of Public Sector Information was had a recast in 2019 and was formerly called the PSI Directive because of public sector information. Now it's called Open Data Directive. And the objective of this recast was to strengthen the EU's data economy by increasing the amount of publicly funded and data available for reuse. So that's actually the goal, to increase the availability of data by bringing new types of public and publicly funded data into the scope of the directive, such as data held by public undertakings in the utilities and transport sectors and research data resulting from public funding. Another goal was to increase real-time access to dynamic data held by public sector bodies via APIs. And the European Commission wants the data to become a driver for the development of new technologies such as artificial intelligence. And the aspect that we've mentioned before and would like to have a closer look at are high-value data sets. The Open Data Directive introduces the concept of high-value data sets, and these data sets are meant to be used to create value-added services to benefit society, the environment, and the economy. They shall be made available for reuse with minimal legal restrictions, free of charge, as a bulk download where relevant, and via suitable application programming interfaces. There we have the APIs again. And the high-value data sets are listed as thematic categories in the annex of the Open Data Directive. You see the 6 categories on the left: geospatial, Earth observation and environment, meteorological, statistics, companies and company ownerships, and mobility. And we've had this discussion before. Of course, all of these thematic categories do have location information, or can have location information, geospatial information that's of interest. Right now, there's a draft implementing regulation laying down a list of specific high-value data sets and the arrangements for their publication and reuse. So this is still a draft, but the final version should be published fairly soon. And the interesting thing about this draft already is that it references Inspire data themes, just very specific Inspire data themes like cadastral parcels or addresses. And this is basically where the directives of Inspire and Open Data meet. And the implementing rule for the Open Data Directive goes a step further than Inspire. For example, when it comes to licensing, the data should be published under a Creative Commons by 4 license, or an equivalent or even less restrictive open license. Yes, they ask for publication through application processing interfaces, APIs, and also bulk download. And in some cases also to publish the data in the most up-to-date version. So this is basically the part on modernizing Inspire and moving towards open data. And I'd like to check if there's any questions in Slido. Is there?
Yes, we have one first question. That's about metadata of multi-country data sets. So the question is, do you have a solution to the issue of how to manage metadata of multi-country data sets, for example, those produced in the frame of research projects?
I'm not an expert on this, so no, personally, no. Do you, Simon?
Yeah, perhaps the question is a bit which specific issues you are looking at here. So it depends perhaps also a bit on the setup. So is it a data set curated by one publisher? Is it a data set provided by a consortium? How is it perhaps a virtual data set composed of multiple single data sets? So I'm not totally sure which direction the issues are here, but perhaps also we could follow up after the webinar. If you are interested, we can have some further exchange on this.
Okay, great. That seems to be the only question so far. There's another one. Will there be an official mapping from Inspire themes and topics to the EU themes? Actually, there is. That implementing rule does mention exactly which Inspire themes or even Inspire data sets are in scope. Okay, so at least that's my understanding of this. Okay, are there any questions in the chat?
Well, let me check.
You can also.
I have some issues with the Teams chat for now.
Oh, okay. So I think I'll just hand over to Simon then to talk about the role of geospatial information for smart cities.
Okay, thank you very much, Antje. So this topic today of smart cities is also some kind of a follow-up to a webinar we had earlier this year where we talked about the provision of real-time data, and that's closely related basically to the provision also and the inclusion of smart city data. However, here we will take a slightly different perspective because we see further benefits and chances coming from the development and increasing implementation of smart city concepts. And here we would also like to use the webinar as an opportunity to talk with you about the potentials that you may see as part of these technologies. So just to start, smart city is some kind of buzzword that you hear a lot around the community, and everyone has a slightly different definition for this. And for this purpose, we have just picked one definition given on a website of the European Commission. You find the link down here on the slide. And basically, this definition is in the direction that a smart city is a place where traditional networks and services are made more efficient by using digital solutions for the benefit of inhabitants of the cities or businesses within the city. That means traditional network services that could be something like traffic networks, lighting of the streets, or utility networks. So in this direction. However, it's important to note that a smart city goes beyond the pure use of the digital technologies for better resource use and less emissions. It also includes basically the notion or the idea that typical things that you have in your city, typical concepts like the transport networks are becoming smarter, perhaps dynamic traffic flow, for example, that we have upgraded water supply, waste disposal facilities, and more efficient ways to light and heat buildings. But it also includes basically the idea to have also some deeper change, for example, in more responsive city administration, benefiting, for example, from a better basis of data, safer public spaces, or, for example, meeting the needs of an aging population. So these are just a few examples that we could look at, for example, like traffic flow optimization or waste bins, smart waste bins in cities to better manage the disposal of waste, for example. However, we will now dive a bit deeper into this. And before, perhaps also just to emphasize the high strategic value for this. So the better supply with smart city data, with intelligent information about our cities and deriving better strategies for managing our life in cities has, for example, impact, as we saw before, reducing emissions. Then, for example, in many countries, we have a trend towards growing cities. So we have increasing population numbers within cities, and we need to better manage the life of people there, using the resources that we have in the cities in the best possible way. And what we have already seen in the word cloud that we started at the beginning, looking at, for example, digital twin aspects for example, supporting our urban planning within cities, and getting the best understanding of the cities that we are living in. For this, because of this high strategic value, there is also strong support either on the European level. So on the right-hand side here, you see a map of, for example, from the Smart Cities Marketplace of the EC, which contains basically an overview of sites of smart city activities supported by the European Commission. But there are also on national and regional level strong activities which help to advance these concepts. And as said before, it's beyond the pure technical infrastructure. It involves also administration strategies and a lot of things like what to do with the data. So it's a very data-driven aspect we are working on here. And now we build the bridge towards geospatial data. If we are living in a smart city, it's really important to have up-to-date information about the status of our city, environmental aspects, etc. And for this purpose, most of the information we are dealing with has some geospatial reference. So we would like to know how is the traffic in a specific street, where do we have traffic congestion, where is, for example, some garbage on the street, etc. And for this purpose, geospatial references are essential and really important for us. And in order to build these smart city applications, there's a lot of different types of data which are collected. So, for example, there are typical base data that we need, that we also get, for example, from the Inspire context, for example, background maps. Then we have information about traffic. So that could be car counts on a certain street, information about traffic light control, parking space availability. We have also seen projects where there are bike sharing information, for example, availability of bikes at certain locations, person counts within streets, which also has, for example, not only traffic management impacts, but also live impact on commercial activities, like how many people are frequenting a shopping street. Then we have areas such as public transportation. Of course, we have the schedules of our transportation means, but this may also include like up-to-date information, like information about delays, disturbances, real-time positions of subways, of buses, in order to get a better understanding about the transportation system. Then we are looking also at environmental conditions. we see many activities, for example, towards the measurement of air pollutants within cities, either by the official networks or by further initiatives employing perhaps more low-cost observation and sensing devices in order to densify networks, information about street lighting, utility network data, so like water supply, electricity, smart grid may be also related to this, and of course 3D models of our cities and its infrastructure. So that's just a very small view on data that is collected and useful in the context of smart city projects, but it helps also to strengthen the availability of such types of data. And then related to this, of course, there are many technological trends which help us to get all these types of data together. So that is on the one hand new communication means like 5G networks. Then we have better capacities to manage these large data sets, either using cloud technologies. We are able to also better process the data, like, for example, having big data analysis tools or even feeding machine learning mechanisms for this. So so this was really intended to just outline and highlight how important data, especially geospatial data, is in the context of smart city projects, but at the same time that we see the chance that more and more data sets may become available as output of such smart city initiatives, which may then also be useful for further applications beyond the pure originally intended use case, for example. If you look at data.europa.eu, you will already find quite a number of smart city related types of information. Of course, there are certain background documents on existing smart city initiatives and projects. Then there are also historical data sets available. We have seen for some cities that there are quite comprehensive data sets of historical traffic counts, for example, which are also a valuable input because you can understand the history and the development of certain trends within smart cities. Then also base data about smart city infrastructure. We have found, for example, data sets about locations of smart waste bins within cities. In this case, it's more focused just on this infrastructure, not directly giving the actual status information about these, but we already have some providers offering already real-time information, real-time data sets, which are useful and can be published and discovered via data.europa.eu. One example is, for example, here, which you may already know this example from previous webinars, but I like this quite a lot. It's a result of some fiber activities. And here we have information, for example, from the city of Malaga. On the left-hand side, this is information about real-time information about bus traffic. So it's public transportation theme. On the right-hand side, you have up-to-date numbers of available parking spaces, so individual traffic. And besides this is just one example which is available. And our intention here is to also work in the future to make more data sets discoverable via data.europa.eu and also providing at least some kind of preview functionality to assess the available data sets in a better manner. So then with this, I wanted to set the scene, and we would also like to stimulate later on the discussion that we are going to have together with you, in which we would like to explore opportunities that we see arising from smart city projects, smart city initiatives, in order to offer new types of data sets to users and perhaps also support new types of applications by making these types of data discoverable. So what we have seen is that smart city initiatives and projects allow us to get more information. We have seen real-time information in several parts collected. We need to see how this becomes perhaps available more as also open data. Of course, there are also critical aspects to consider, like data privacy issues, but here in general, there's a trend that we are able to get more up-to-date information out of such smart city initiatives. And we would like to encourage people to publish this as well. We get more information about infrastructures. And what I would also consider as part of this, we may perhaps not only consider sensors deployed, Internet of Things devices deployed in cities. There may be also relevant citizen science activities where citizens of a city are able to report information that is useful for understanding certain processes. For example, information about noise pollution or similar things which are of concern to the citizens and help to improve the databases which is used for decision making. Then we see also smart city portals as a potential additional type of catalog for data resources, which we may look into. Here we are still at the beginning, but that's something we would like to further understand if there are certain opportunities and certain additional sources that might be relevant for metadata harvesting and increasing the set of available data sources. Regarding the challenges, also there we have identified a couple of things, but also there we are really keen on getting also your feedback, what you see as critical things in order to challenge with regard to challenges that we need to address in order to make more smart city data available via data.europa.eu. One thing, of course, is the identification of further relevant standards and types of data sources. So at the moment, we are especially focused on Inspire. We are able to consume and integrate data from fireware-based solutions. Simple downloads are also feasible. And there are perhaps further standards to be considered. For example, Internet of Things standards like MQTT, which we also talked about in the real-time webinar earlier this year. And perhaps there are further technologies that you consider relevant for these, for improving and getting smart city data into data.europa.eu. Then we would like to encourage the provision of such metadata about available data sets. So it's really important that people just not only publish somewhere or set up an MQTT broker sharing their data streams. They also need a way to provide metadata and make it known that these data sources are available and can then be discovered via a portal such as data.europa.eu. And of course, then also, look at new approaches for data preview, especially for these real-time data sources. And the idea is really to get into a way that we have live maps of city data available here. And with that, I hope that I gave you some points and ideas for further thought and also input for our discussion that we will have. And now we have again the opportunity that you ask a couple of questions that we can answer if you like.
There are actually quite a few questions in the Slido now. Let's just check. There we go.
Okay, so the first question up there, why are there so few full-fledged commercial applications of smart cities? If we all think the potential is so high, what are we missing? Yeah, it's a good question. I think there is already a lot of commercial activity in the area of smart city activities. So basically all the big players in IT technology, big consulting companies are already offering concepts for this and solutions. However, the degree of openness is perhaps sometimes a bit leaves a bit of potential for further improvement. So I think it's really something we need to look into further. but I think there is a lot of commercial activity, but this needs to be a bit more streamlined in order to also foster the openness of such data.
Oh,
so then a lot of commercial, oh, it's going so fast.
Sorry.
A lot of commercial data exists in cities. And I think it would also be useful to have an idea of what exists and could be accessed. That's a very valid comment, and I really think that's a task that we have to follow up in order to understand the opportunities that we have for accessing such data, and then also perhaps reach out to the relevant players to help them opening up their data sets. And on the one hand, commercial data sets, you have to see to which extent the business interests allow also a publication as open data. I think it is really advisable to publish this, and to get in touch with these players to not do it on a one-on-one basis, but to deliver basic best practices for publishing data in an open data approach. Then what trends have you identified around Europe for smart cities? There is quite a lot of different levels on which this question could be answered. So what I would personally say about this question is, on the one hand, there's increasing activities regarding also lightweight technologies for integrating your sensing devices. For example, what I consider very interesting is you have technologies such as LoRaWAN, or other low-level networks. 5G may play a role in this, so that you have better connectivity. Then, of course, cloud-based solutions for managing the data. And on the other hand, the analysis side and usage side of the data. Of course, there's the trend on integrating more and more data in complex data analysis processes up to machine learning activities. So then, what did we not? Temporal coverage to describe real-time data sets is not feasible. Will this be addressed in the future? Yes, that's a big topic. In metadata, you have basically a continuously changing data set for your coverage. We are already thinking about this, how this could be handled, perhaps by indicating that a data set is a continuously updating data set somehow. But this is something we will indeed need to follow up in order to enable this. We also discovered this in other types of data sources. For example, last year we talked about the Sensor Things API. If you would like to describe such an API, you get the same issue there in many cases, at least. Then there's a challenge. Smart city projects often focus on their own spatial context. Sharing wider geographical context is not priority. For example, Inspire is not commonly known. Exactly. So this is something which is really important. And here we have to go beyond a pure technical approach for this. We really need to help people understand the benefits of Inspire and motivate people to share their data. Perhaps Inspire is a very good baseline for this, but we also need to look in the general, more broader open data context to motivate people sharing their data as open data. Then how can data quality and reliability be ensured in contributed open data? That's I would say to a certain extent an open issue. You have to trust in a certain extent into the publishers. However, we are also working outside this project on activities to better describe, for example, the ways how such data sets have been generated. So, for example, to describe the sensors that were used, the processes that were applied for quality assurance. So there are approaches, but it's really a big task in order to motivate people also to describe their metadata. In the scientific community, that's a bit more advanced, but especially when we are talking in a very pragmatic way, here it's indeed something where we need to increase awareness for people. So then, what key challenges do city public administration and council face concerning the collection of geospatial data, and how can they be addressed? It's a rather broad topic, I would say. I think typical questions are in the field of, on the one hand, getting cost-efficient infrastructure in place. There we have some IoT technologies which may be interesting to solve this. Then, of course, privacy is a big topic. So if you deal with, for example, traffic data, you have to ensure that you do not track individual persons. There you need really to have a high degree of awareness how to manage these types of data. And then, of course, I think the organization of the data is a big topic. And there, I think best practices would be a good approach to help people, to give them guidance how to organize these data sets and how to share them also in an efficient manner. Okay.
So the last two questions, I think, are for the previous thing on Inspire. First question is the mapping from Inspire to GeoDCAT. And there is indeed, it's in the GeoDCAT AP specification. There's a chapter called Inspire and ISO 19115 mappings. And the second question is, will the high-value data sets somehow be marked in data.europa.eu? Do you have any ideas how? I would actually like it very much to have data.europa.eu be basically a single point of access to high-value data sets. When it comes to ideas of how to achieve this, I must say we've been waiting for the implementing rule, and when it's final, there'll be some more discussions about it. But if you have any ideas of how to do this, please share them with us. Okay, this is it for the questions now. So what would now come is sorry, wrong poll. The brainstorming and discussion of opportunities for data.europa.eu, which opportunities might arise from any of the trends that we've either talked about or that you've collected earlier, and how can data.europa.eu benefit from and support new ways of sharing geospatial data. So looking forward to your input here. And by the way, people have been doing this, but you can also vote for things that other people have said. That will, you've already done this on the, or some of you have done this with the Q&A. Simplifying Inspire specifications. Yes. Provide support to cities in order to collect, share, and probably share data.
It's good to see that we have both technical aspects as well as application suggestions like parking, greener cities. And on the other hand, we have already seen also ideas like best practice guidance for standardization, for examples. So we are still getting inputs.
Yeah, we should take our time here because this is actually what we're most interested in, your input on these themes. I've also seen some questions added here. We'll just go through the whole list when people have stopped typing.
Oh, that's also an interesting comment to promote GIS data in general, I think, yeah. Okay, I think slowly.
Yes.
We can.
So you can still keep typing, but we'll just go through this list to share with everyone. The development of an development of a data or app store that brings data intermediaries, derived data products together, and with end users categorization to facilitate reuse. It's actually an interesting interesting idea. Right now, data.europa.eu focuses on data, not apps, but the way of how to use them is of course also interesting.
Yes, also the idea to include derived data products. I think that's also a very good thing because there you may not only share the data by itself, but also the knowledge that people have gathered or built up in using these data sets. So I think that's a very interesting idea, yes.
So the next one is the GIS data should be promoted in large people group who deal with, for example, spatial planning. Architects often do not know GIS solutions, at least in Poland. So that's interesting to have like specific user groups to focus on to promote this information. Mm-hmm. And it says the EU-level actions on the Green Deal emphasize importance of location data. For example, provide use cases for implementation, monitoring, and reporting. Better policy coordination. Yeah, that's actually a good idea. We're talking here about opportunities for data.europa.eu, and I think that's not really the role of this, but this, of course, there are other comments about challenges and things that.
Challenge and opportunity as well, because with the better data, it will also help to better coordinate policy activities.
Okay. So I didn't.
I think we can see it in both ways.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So I probably got that wrong.
Okay, so then we have a comment or a challenge. Public organizations need to be more flexible, adopt innovation, and reduce red tape. Yes, I think that's a valid comment, and I think here we could perhaps also help in promoting new technologies and innovative concepts for data sharing. And I'm aware that there are several public organizations really bringing innovative solutions in data collection, data sharing activities. But perhaps this can also serve as some kind of best practice guidance in order to also motivate further organizations really to rethink perhaps some approaches they are working with their data. Then, okay, I would say the benefit is this type of sharing and raising awareness why open data is important and why can it do, or what can it do. So important that everyone will automatically have the urge to provide important data that could be used in both policy making, strategical decision in direction of providing the best life for the society. I think that's an excellent comment, and it's also one of the basic motivations also for the work we are doing on this on data.europa.eu. Really, help people to share their data, motivate people also by seeing good examples, and also this complementary activity we have, for example, with the academy, is really intended also to motivate people to share their data.
Knowing the future place for data.europa would help to specify. That's true.
So then we have one idea, quicker, more coordinated response to emergencies. I think that's really also one of the big advantages if you have comprehensive smart city data sets, and indeed one of the opportunities that will arise from this. And I think we have then also a few further comments like growing awareness of geointelligence for crisis management, climate, conflicts, energy. These are examples here, and to boost the willingness of people to share their data. So I think that's really a good argument here that this helps to increase the data sharing.
And this is actually something that data.europa.eu could do.
Exactly. Then we have also one further application scenario or opportunity: cities adapted to climate change. So heat waves like in the last summer I mentioned here, large rainstorms. Indeed, this is also a big advantage here of getting these smart city projects also to share their data and make this also a good practice on a broader basis. Then I think that's one for you, Antje.
Including the decade description fields as the content of the lineage ISO 19115 field. That's very specific.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, but it's something we will consider. Then provide easy access to multiple data sources for reuse. Yes, I think that's really one of the big goals that we have also with data.europa.eu. Okay, that's a critical comment, but I think also something we need to consider here. Supervised local governments, I know for a few examples where a municipality is manipulating data in order to look good in the picture. Yeah, I think that's also a big challenge, really, to increase also the trust in the data in the end by directly spotting such issues. And I think that's a bigger challenge, I think, going beyond pure technical solutions, where how you can ensure that local governments really do not manipulate the data.
Well, one of the ideas behind open data in general is that if you publish the raw data, that other people can actually use it and also check it. So it's a checks and balance thing as well.
Yeah, but you have to really make sure that the raw data is even real raw data. Yeah, but that's a good comment.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on. Okay. Data.europa.eu to become a filter to cluster and make sense of 1 or more million data sets. That's actually a challenge, and a challenge that data.europa.eu wants to accept and wants to address.
Okay, then we have also, that's also one motivation that we really have as part of our project here. More reuse and interesting reuse cases with an impact on our environment, economy, and society. I think that's something which we should really look out for to provide this as some kind of lighthouse examples in order to motivate further people and to really show and make clear to people that if they share their data, there can be very good cases where data is used in totally different context than they were originally intended for. But I think this is a very good comment, yes.
This is also already done in data.europa.eu. They have basically data stories, data use cases, which are quite interesting to read. So we encourage you to have a look at those. Okay.
So then map interface, I'm not totally sure in which direction this is going, but I think here indeed one of the things we are looking at is, for example, improving the preview of data as part of data.europa.eu and, for example, putting data on a map, making it better, have better preview functionality for such data sets.
Because currently it's the preview, the geovisualization will work for web map services, WMS. So that's also Inspire View services that use the WMS interface, and GeoJSON. But this is definitely an idea to extend.
Yes, and we have also first steps towards real-time data, but here we would also like to continue. For example, like mentioned in the real-time webinar earlier this year, we would be really interested and keen on looking, for example, at MQTT-based data sources, for example, where you have live data streams using some IoT technologies. So I think that's really a way forward here. So then a couple of application examples and opportunities, parking solutions, that's very valid. And I think this is also one of the most popular things that we already see in smart city contexts. Then greener cities, of course, that will definitively contribute also here if we have better data, better policy making, ensuring the environment in the cities.
So then we have the question, will there be a map interface when searching the European Open Data Portal? Currently, there is a map interface where you can just put a bounding box for the area that you want to search metadata in or find metadata. I'm not sure what else is meant by this. But let's also keep in mind that the data.europa.eu is not only for geodata, but also, well, the most for all other kinds of open data. So this would be actually an interesting thing to investigate, what you could do further in helping the search.
Yes, then interoperability, I think that's both, again, a challenge as well as an opportunity. So a challenge that we really need to further promote interoperability among data providers. And on the other hand, with the interoperability that we achieve, we of course have the opportunity also to facilitate the reuse of the data and also use it cross-domain in a cross-domain manner.
So here's a question: how will data.europa.eu be placed in the upcoming data space architecture? This is something I don't know. We'd have to ask the Commission on this, but it can also be seen as an opportunity to actually address this and to find the space within the data spaces architecture.
Yeah. But I think that will be an interesting discussion also that needs to be done. Yes, then providing support for OGC APIs. I think that's on the one hand related to what you explained, Antje, in your presentation part. So really OGC APIs is also something we are considering, for example, for the preview, perhaps in future iterations that we do a preview of OGC API content. And this also relates perhaps to the real-time data, where we also have, through the OGC API, new generation of OGC standards, better opportunities to share these types of data.
And in the last report, we were for 2021, we actually identified OGC API features, OGC API records, and OGC sensor web API as some standards to basically follow and see when and how to integrate this in data.europa.eu.
Yes. Okay, then again, 2 comments on opportunities, so reduced emissions, I guess, as well as efficiency in transport, also perhaps a bit interlinked already. And this is indeed a good opportunity related to the smart city activities.
So add DQV, data quality vocabularies, as an extension to DCAT.
So maybe also an interesting aspect regarding describing the quality of the data sets and some opportunities. Then provide support to cities in order to collect, share, and standardize geospatial data. Yes, that's definitely what we would like to do, and will also continue to do as part of the data.europa.eu activities. And here, perhaps this also goes a bit into the direction of Inspire. There are these good practices, and I think this is an excellent starting point. But here you may further benefit, for example, from reports or best practice stories illustrating how these technologies were used in order to build such systems.
Okay, and the last one is simplifying Inspire specification. This would actually be a great opportunity for data.europa.eu because well, my expectation would be that make it easier to streamline the discovery and probably even the visualization for data found on data.europa.eu. So this was a very good session, and we're right on time. Thank you for your input. So the next steps will be that we will publish a short report. In the slides, there's also the link to last year's report. And by short, I mean short, 10 pages. And your findings will provide input to further development of data.europa.eu. So thank you very much for your participation, for your great comments. We'll be looking at those and seeing which ones we can actually address in the report. And yes, we would like to thank you for your input and taking part today. So now I'll hand over to Julia.
Thank you, Antje. Thank you, Simon. It was really, really interesting. And we can see that also from the engagement of the audience. So thank you very much. I would like to have your engagement also in these 2 minutes for taking part in our feedback. Here you can scan the QR code and yeah, provide us with your feedback. Otherwise, I can share with you also the link to the feedback in the chat. It takes really 2 minutes, but helps us a lot. And on the next slide, you also see our next webinars. On the 18th of November, we will have our 3rd webinar for data providers, which will be focusing on legal openness, how to ensure that data are legally open. And on the 29th of November, we will have another training session on geospatial harvesting. You can already register for the first webinar. Here you see the QR code. So for the one on legal openness, while the training course on geospatial harvesting will be released soon. So stay tuned. You can find all information anyway on data.europa Academy. And if not, you can contact us. Here also our contacts for the newsletter, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Facebook. So I think we are at the end of our webinar. I would like to thank the speakers for today's webinars, Antje and Simon. And I would like to thank Giuseppe as well, who has prepared the webinar with us. And thank you all for participating. Have a great Thursday. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.